Good evening, everybody. It's August 17th, 2021. Bitcoin chop continues. So, at this point, honestly, I do not know what the correct count is for this range. It is still holding above this green box, and more importantly above the 42,483 at the 618. That would indicate that that this move is completed if it breaks below that. We are certainly in chop territory, as I said we would be. So this diagonal upwards, as I was expecting, is not completely dead. I mean, I suppose we could say that this is the 2 down here now, so we still could get just a larger version of it. I'm not really holding out for this as the main probability at this point. We really should have seen this move end, if that were going to be the case, around here for that ABC move. But I'm trying to figure out if there's any other way that you can count this. I mean, maybe this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a very strange diagonal down. So that could be the beginning of the larger pullback that I've been expecting. But really, until we break down below this green zone and that 42,483, I cannot rule out pressing higher until that happens. But at this point, I would say this is kind of our backup scenario if it does go up. So I'm going to put that in red. If it presses higher, that's probably what we're looking at, although it's not doing it in a way that I normally would have anticipated. And then the alternative is that potentially this is the start of our pullback. This might be our A here, which means we'll get a little bounce at some point up. Maybe about, recover about 50% of those losses, and then get a further move down in a large C, down to test this green line. That is sort of my expectation at this point. But again, until this region is broken, I can't really count either one of those as more likely than the other. But we are, on the hourly at least, we are seeing some bullish divergence on the RSI. We've got, we're in the green here on the PPO. Let's take a look at just a higher time from here. Let's look at the 4-hour. RSI certainly has room to drop on the 4-hour still. PPO's got some room to drop on the 4-hour as well. So we could just continue pressing lower in this as well. So I am about 40% into cash at this point. I've been saying, this region was my area of interest for getting out of some of my Bitcoin buys that I bought down in the low 30s. I was selling them up here in this region. And I sold a little bit more when we spiked into this box as well. So I am about 40% cash at this point. I will play it by ear. I might go a little bit more, maybe go to 50% cash around this area. And then certainly if we get this press higher, I would potentially be looking for going even further into cash at that point, for that greater pullback that I expect. So that's pretty much the plan, is just wait and see what happens. I've got my cash sitting there waiting, ready. Once this area resolves itself and we see what happens here, if this does in fact go up a little bit and then drop, or if it comes down a little bit, then bounces and then drops, whatever that plays out as. Once that clarifies a little bit more, then I can get some better targets here. But generally, I've been looking for at least a pullback to this green downtrend line, which we broke out of. I would really love to see that retested at some point. And at the same time, let me just go throw a fat rectangle here, because this whole area right here was resistance for the longest time here. We couldn't break above that resistance. So I would expect a retest of that area at a minimum. So I'm going to make that, just to make things a little less confusing hopefully, let's make that blue, because it's not really like a fib level that I'm looking at necessarily. It is just horizontal resistance that should now be support. So looking for that green line retest and also that horizontal retest. So somewhere between 40 and 42.5. Somewhere in that range. I would not be shocked to see that in the very near future, and I will go back into Bitcoin with probably a decent portion of my my cash that I have raised in this area. So I was really just looking to, de-risk a little bit here and then look for a pullback to buy back in on and just increase that Bitcoin stack by doing so. So that's what I'm looking at there on Bitcoin. That's kind of the plan. We could drop further, of course, if this ends up playing out. Whoops. We just need to draw a fib up here. It can really drop as low as like 35. Let me get rid of some of these lines. These were older lines. So we could go as low as like 35, honestly. But I would really love to see this green downtrend breakout hold. That would be the ideal situation for Bitcoin. All right, I think that pretty much sums it up. We'll keep an eye on what that's doing. Oh, this little yellow downtrend here. Keep an eye on that too. We may see a bounce up. Maybe this B only goes to there, something like that. Even if it breaks out, it could very well just be a trap there. So we do have 3 touches on that line, so it is a valid trend line to keep an eye on anyway. If we close, I would say if we close an hour above that, then maybe we're going to go into this red count instead. But if we fail to close an hour above, if we just wick up and then close below that line, then we're probably looking at the drop coming sooner rather than later. So, all right, I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, I would be shocked if we didn't see a little bit of a bounce from here. All these wicks down, and the indicators are saying that we really should see a little bounce, at least to that trend line. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, touch base tomorrow. Good night, everybody.